It's St. Patrick's Day. What's up, y'all?
Hey, y'all, how you doing?
I'm Jared. That's why I got put my one green St. Patrick's Day sweatshirt on, and I think right at breakfast had like crap all down it. I'm like, whatever.
Hey, you do.
Yeah,
I got it all over my shirt. What am I gonna do with your green? I got any green. I don't have any green on because I just am stupid and I forgot today was St. Patrick's Day. I said I was going to go watch Captain Marvel on St. Patrick's Day, but I went and saw that a few days earlier, so then I just completely forgot that it was a thing that I should acknowledge.
Man, I think everybody did so much St. Patrick's Day stuff on Saturday. Now that it's Sunday night, everybody's kind of like, whatever.
Yeah,
it's over with it.
Yeah, I can't celebrate.
I don't care.
You can't celebrate St. Patrick's Day the proper way on a Sunday. I got work tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's all good, man.
It's like when Halloween falls during the week and everybody's like, we're doing it either the weekend before or the weekend after.
Yeah, totally. We haven't decided.
You know.
Yeah. What's your opinion on that? I would say weekend before because it's still October.
Yeah, I said before.
I'm with you.
You know.
Don't make them kids wait for that candy, man.
if the candy's on sale, then you're just cheap and you can't do that.
That's my other thing. It's like, that's a great point, man, is if you do it the week after, everybody's giving you that cheap candy. And the cheap candy that I get after Halloween's for me.
That's mine.
That's mine, exactly. You kids ain't getting nothing, man.
You cut off.
It ain't October no more. You missed it, youngin'.
Get you a jobby job.
That's right. You go down and get you pack 3 musketeers like me. Oh God, look at me, enjoy them in front of your wailing children. Oh my God, this is my Halloween.
There taste those tears. You got Captain Marvel review.
I do. Marvel
turkey.
I did tell
I looked all over for that and I couldn't find it.
Me neither, because I wanted to see it too. But it happened. Like I sent Jared a text that it was the truth. That while I was watching the movie, I literally thought about turkey the entire time. Captain Marvel. All right, I had a weird experience with Captain Marvel. Good crowd. It was cool.
Yeah, hot crowd.
Not a ton of people. I don't want to start with that part, man. In general, I thought it was, I dug it. I thought it was quite good. I was pretty much cool with most stuff. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
And as far as the crowd is concerned, this is the part I wasn't going to start with, but I guess I better. I didn't think that any of the jokes landed at all. I thought there were a couple of things that I kind of chuckled at and had a good time with, but it wasn't like the stuff that was supposed to be the stop the world and laugh at this stuff. And it wasn't just me; it was all of us. I told Jared the only time the theater stopped is with the modified Marvel Studios credits, the Stan Lee tribute. People decided to clap for that, and then the movie started up. That was cool, man. And the movie started up, and we're watching it and doing that thing, and it just took me a long time to. I don't know. It's not that I didn't like it. I did quite enjoy it. There were things about it that I was like, and pretty much most of my moments were just the nostalgia button, the 90s stuff. There were a couple of things that it was like, and it's nobody's fault because this stuff works. I just hate stuff like this. So I'm like, I thought the Blockbuster thing, the Radio Shack joke, I'm like, you just see them coming 1,000 miles away, and it's just like, y'all, I don't even know why I don't want them to do it because it works and they want to do it, but stuff like that makes me nuts. I had a different take or a different opinion on the emotion stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the sense that I don't know if it's that they weren't going for the inherent femininity of being too emotional, but I thought that the whole point that I got from that whole thing is that once you get to the end and she meets the Supreme Intelligence for the second time and decides to, I'm all over the place because I'm not very focused on this, and all this is going to change in a minute anyway. The one and only thing in the movie that I genuinely did not like, and it goes into this particular thing, I thought the whole, what is given can be taken away, and boy, the way they just popped around that was the laziest. I'm like, well, okay, so if you have this dampener, wow, you can just get rid of it that easily? That just seemed very stupid to me. First of all, I thought the idea was just dumb anyway, because I thought that the notion of your emotion is bad. Your emotion is what keeps you weak. Your emotion is why I beat you. La-di-da. Well, it seemed to me that the way that played out was that's him telling her, don't do the emotion thing. Because, again, maybe it was supposed to be a girl thing. I thought it was more of a Spock kind of situation where, oh, yeah, it's the human part of you. That's the thing that we don't care for. And the point that I'm making is that all of the, you can't do that, you're a girl. The scenes, those scenes were, I mean, it was like Nail's head. I mean, the cockpit scene and the, why are you driving that race car so fast, girly? And that kind of stuff. They got, I thought they made that point way more times. But as far as like the suppression of emotion, the second she kicked it up, she beat the crap out of all of them in about a second and a half. And that was the point, or not the point, that's what I got from that whole thing, is like, it was basically so messed up. They ran a preview for Dark Phoenix because, good God Almighty, here we go again. But it was that same kind of thing where it's like, you have to convince her that this is bad and don't do this and your human traits are bad, because, oh my God, if you get in touch with that, we can't hang with you anymore. Because it was just instantaneous that she's like firing up and busting out of the chains and pulls the thing out of her neck. And that was the only thing I really just did not like, was it just seemed like that whole thing of, well, we got to have this thing in her neck so we can like shock her in one scene, but she'll just yank it out in the next scene. It's fine. It just seems super lazy to me, man. That was the only part that I wasn't wild about, though. My other thing, I think my one groany moment of like, ugh, aside from Radio Shack, I didn't groan at, but I thought the No Doubt song was god awful. I hated that, primarily just because of the timing. Because if you want to make the I'm just a girl point, you have to do it before the scene I was just talking about. If you want all these things that are negative to be because she's a woman, don't have it be what makes her different and special because, oh yeah, none of the rest of us are human. And the other thing, as far as the anti-woman thing, am I the only person that happened to notice that of the Green Lantern Corps or whatever they were called, the only other one that got significant screen time was a woman? I mean, it's just, I didn't get that at all, but maybe it's because that's not what I'm going to see. That's not what I'm looking for, so maybe that's... And I was talking to my buddy Danielle about, like heights and stuff like that, and how, man, it just never occurs to me. And it's like, well, why would it? So it's where I could be totally wrong about that, but that was the thing that I got from that, is like, I thought you had just established that the emotion was good, that getting through and the human thing was good, and fighting back and all that stuff is... I thought that's what we were doing. And then we bust out, and I hate Gwen Stefani passionately anyway, and also No Doubt's got a couple of songs I like, but boy, that's not one of them. So but I'm really bad about my music and Marvel stuff anyway, man. There's a lot of songs.
I keep waiting for the people the Bohemian Rhapsody haters to come out and be like, oh, that song was not released in 1995.
Yeah.
It's not accurate.
Yeah. Hopefully they're coming.
Yeah. So, but that did, with a lot of the song choices, it did kind of leave you like, well, at least they're sticking it in the 90s, but it felt like, are we Guardians of the Galaxy ourselves again?
Yeah, because apparently that's the one thing from Guardians of the Galaxy that you have to do, and it's the reason this one I thought was so over the top 90s, because you did the 70s with that one, and everybody has stripped mine the 80s, so thank God somebody tried to do something a little bit different, but I just thought that a couple of the references were just, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. And the other thing that bummed me out was, I love the idea of Hole playing you out.
That was tight.
I wish that it was Violet instead of Celebrity Skin, just because Violet, I mean, over those credits would have been, and it might be too fast. I mean, because the pacing for Celebrity Skin is really good, and that worked. But I would have loved it if I just thought that would have been awesome, because it's really stupid. I told Jared this before. A lot of times when I discuss movies that should be seen at the theater, that never means special effects to me. Special effects are crap no matter what screen you see. Man, there's a lot of people that are like really upset with some of the effects in Captain Marvel, and I see it. I understand why people don't like them, but as far as it being, you know, if you're gonna do like whenever like oh shoot, man, the Robert Smigel Christmas song when he got Darlene Love to come back and do about how great Christmas is for Jewish people because everyone else finally just go home and by God we can go out in the city and have a good time. They made that sound like it was a 1962 Phil Spector thing. It was real cool. It sounded, they didn't do modern. It sounded very, very retro and very old. And I've read a couple of things that were suggesting that a lot of the effects in Captain Marvel were supposed to be kind of a tribute to the early days of CGI. And I understand that people don't like that. But it totally makes sense to me. It's like, yes, I can see that. I can see you seeing that's where they were going, primarily because, oh, the special effects were so bad. Have we ever said that about any other Marvel movie? They didn't forget how to do it, is the point that I'm making.
I thought the de-aging thing they did on Samuel Jackson was like, awesome.
Oh yeah.
But then you saw kind of like the Clark Gregg where he looked kind of plastic. Like, well, they put the money over here with Sam. He's gonna be on screen like the whole movie.
He's like he's Murtaugh. Briggs and Murtaugh. I did think that Captain Marvel and Nick Fury being a buddy cop movie, I was okay with that. For the most part, I thought the two of them were quite good together. I thought that, and this was part of the thing about like the stone face, no emotion thing. I thought there was a very definitive line drawn on that, because I just thought that the early stuff, like we were talking about, it seemed to me that it was her, and she didn't know she was human, but it seemed like it was somebody trying to pass.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you got to do the Spock thing and be stern and all that, because all of the scenes with her and her, like, goose was awesome. Just all the stuff between them was very, very good, and I really kind of dug that. And it took me a minute. I hate to admit that I absolutely flipped when they announced that her name was Rambo, because I was like, please tell me that her name's Rambo. Tell me it's Monica Rambo. Come on, Monica Rambo. And then it ain't. It's Maria Rambo. And I'm like, oh, okay. And the little kid is Monica. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure why they made Monica the kid, but okay, because I'm not bright. And then, of course, after the fact, it was like, well, yeah, this was set in the 1990s, so now when you come forward, if you need something, I don't know if it's going to be the catalyst or whatever, but let's say that Maria, her buddy, her tag partner, her goose, got Thanos, and Monica's still around, and Monica will be older now, because that kid, I'm terrible at ages. The kid was 11, 12, something like that,
Yeah.
so he's 20s, mid-20s now.
I'm not a good judge at stuff like that.
I'm horrible at ages, but it's like, yeah, she's old enough to where you can bump it up now, and so Monica Rambeau was Captain Marvel for a time as well, so that's how come the last name was significant. I'm like, you got to do it to me. Come on, guys, hit me up. So I loved that, but I did think that it was interesting watching the early stuff where it's supposed to be the more rigid character, and then the stuff with Sam, which is just buddy cop stuff, and then the stuff with her actual real friend. It was very cool. Ultimately, what happened to me on it is I realized, and this is what I didn't get, because I was just like, it was all right. It's okay. It was okay. And then I got home, and I got thinking about the previews, and this sounds so stupid, but I got thinking about the previews that ran before the movie, because it was Far From Home, which we discussed. Spider-Man's not my thing. So it is what it is. Dumbo. What else did I see?
I don't remember the name of the movie, but one of the ones that played before the show and I saw, it's Rebel Wilson and Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
And what looks to be like the female Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
That's the impression
Kind
I
of
got.
what, you know, I'm cool with that, but it's just something about it. It doesn't look like it's going to be as fun, but you know, I'll check it out and see what's up with it.
I forgot what it was called too, but I'm with you. That one was there, and X-Men, which we'll see.
Yeah.
I wish, just please retire this crap already, man. I mean, it's just the same thing over and over again. But I mean, this time we have a Stark, so okay, we'll see. But the one that finally drove home what was going on, what I missed in Captain Marvel, is the fact that the last preview they ran before the movie started was Frozen 2. Now, I thought there had already been like 9 sequels to Frozen. I didn't even realize they were doing another theatrical sequel. I thought they'd already done that.
Okay.
And what occurred to me whenever I got home is, ultimately what Captain Marvel seemed like to me is kind of what we talked about. You have Tony Stark's smart mouth, Captain America's origin story, and Thor's powers. And it occurred to me that with Frozen 2 being the last preview on there, that the target for the movie is much younger and a whole lot more feminine than I am. And that is what it occurred to me, that the reason this feels like Marvel's greatest hits is because it was. It was the best parts of these 3 gigantic characters put together, and we've talked about it as far as like what the character can be in the story going forward and what function they will serve. It did not ever occur to me that you could do it all as one thing and it would work, because you got to have the smart ass lead, because everybody loves Tony, so I get that. We talked about the similarities between, but the bad guys aren't the bad guys. I mean, that sounds an awful lot like S.H.I.E.L.D. and Captain America to me, and it was.
Yeah.
It really was. I thought that the swerve for, if you haven't seen it, turn it off till I put my hand down.
Yeah.
I thought them swerving and making the Skrulls the good guys was interesting. I also thought, and this is just me, I know I'm overdoing it, but I just find it hilarious that in 2019 people talk endlessly about politics. Oh, it's just so many politics. Why are they talking politics? Oh my God, politics. And people have done it with this one too about, oh, the power of girls and all that stuff. I'm just so tired of Me Too and la-di-da. But they start talking about homeland. They start talking about state. They start talking about border. They start talking about like, literally, it's like, dude, Marvel Comics is telling you about Palestine and Israel now. I mean, they've literally made the Skrulls Palestinians. It's the most overtly political statement they've ever made.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it was cool. I thought it was interesting. Now back to stuff we can talk about not without ruining anything.
Yeah.
But that's totally what it took. I don't know why I keep doing that, because it's the same thing. What occurred to me was, I did not dislike Captain Marvel in any way comparable to the way that people dislike Last Jedi. But as far as not having that, I guess the watershed thing, for we've discussed this, I love the new Star Wars crap because all of the like venom in me for like, oh, this sucks now, that was the prequels. I despised those, I still do, but I got out of my system. So now this new wave, shoot, I can watch it, you can make it whatever the hell you want to, it's okay.
Yeah.
Marvel stuff hadn't had that yet, and it's all like, yeah, but these are in real time, and this is different. This character, they're rebooting basically their own stuff because people haven't seen it before. There's a ton of little girls that are going to watch this one that didn't watch any of the rest of them. They learned that from Black Panther, so that totally made sense and it totally worked. It was cool, man. In general, I was, because that was my whole thing. Is like, I'm gonna get this wrapped up bow at the end of the story and she's just going to kick the crap at everybody, and it's all like, well, that didn't make me feel any better about her not just being the nuke to beat up Thanos. And then that's when it occurred to me, it's like, no, you have to have an ending for this one because this is a self-contained thing for a new audience. Made a lot more sense and I liked it a lot better. I still hate that No Doubt's on the soundtrack just because I just thought that I didn't think the girl power stuff was overdone at all. I thought that when they were trying to make the point about iniquity, they did. And I just didn't think it was as subtle. Or I shouldn't say subtle. I thought the subtle stuff was bigger. I thought there was much more to the conversation. Anyway.
Mark Bernard had a really good take or idea of what he would have done with the end of the movie. Is and if you don't know Mark Bernard, you go look up his reviews. He sits down with Kevin Smith and they do Fat Man Beyond podcast, and he's has experience with being a screenwriter and had stuff get made, but he thought it would have been more meaningful if she had never got to fly in the first place with her in power scenes. He's like, or possibly if instead of flying jets she was only able to fly helicopters or whatever, she would have been the next level down in the military and always looking up, wanting to do that. And then when she finally gets to it would have been, I thought it was powerful enough with the way they did it, but he thought that's the one thing he would have changed was if he was telling the story like she never gets to fly until then. And I thought that was it's a neat idea to kind of think, well, that would have been different. I don't know if it would have been better, but it would have been a different way of getting there.
It's true. Just my opinion as a fan of the book, honestly, I think it's a little too touchy-feely. And what I mean by that is that the difference between Carol Danvers' test pilot and Carol Danvers' combat pilot is the difference. Because now she's flying up there and blowing the crap out of everybody. And that was literally the thing that she was kept from doing in the Air Force, was flying combat. But everything else, you can do everything else. And I just think that, I don't know, man, if it was, I don't know, maybe so. But it just seems like I just don't want them to make Carol full-on Superman, because she's so much more interesting than that, and that's part of it. The parallel that I make is like Michael Jordan. When you look at somebody like Michael Jordan, whose competitive streak borders on the manic. I mean, there is something, it's not wrong with Michael, but there's something very different about Jordan's approach. It's the reason that he is, to this day, watch his induction speech, man. The guy's got 6 championships. The guy's widely considered the greatest player of all time. He is the father of the modern NBA, and he is miserable because he can't go out and beat the crap out of people anymore. And Carol's got a bit of that in her, man. So the whole thing of like, nah, man, going up and doing the thing. Flying is flying, and she loves that, and that part is very, very cool. But I mean, Defender, Avenger, that was the whole little thing at the end. I wasn't terribly wild about that, but it doesn't really matter. They just get to the end, and Nick's declaration of the one-woman security force. I'm like, you're not making me feel better about Infinity War. I keep saying Civil War, and now I said Infinity War, and what I meant was Endgame. And I don't mean to be so dumb about that, because there's just no way they're going to do that. And I was telling Jared earlier, man, if they wind up like, I might have mentioned this on here, I'm sorry if I'm saying it for the second time, but if they wind up fantasing Maria Rambeau out of the story, and now Monica's grown up, and if that's I don't know, maybe she doesn't need any more motivation, but anyway, it could have been. I mean, if you just want, it's a strange thing, because going over the top, and this is the new Superman, and this is how we do it, and everything is truth and justice in the American way, man. I don't know, man. Maybe it would have worked, and as a one-off story, he's probably got a good point, but I don't know. Maybe I just missed it. But I liked all the crap, I don't remember what specific part I was going to say that I dug, because in general I really did like it, but once I figured out that, again, it's the Rey and Kylo thing, man. It's different. Y'all can go in a different direction because it's for different people. There was something very specific. I'm sorry, it just shot out of my head. And that's a very weird review, very disjointed.
I feel like I could have used a little bit more of Carol before the memory loss to kind of make you care a little bit more about her.
I thought all of that was odd. I loved
it's all little kid Carol, and a little bit more of her grown up, and it not just be like strictly pictures and stories of being told by other people. You could have seen a little bit more of that. I think it would have made it that story a little bit something more you care about.
Yeah, I had that weird idea on that too, of almost more like do two movies at the same time. And I don't mean like two movies, but like there's this timeline and you're going here and then you have this, and it was kind of messed up, but it's kind of what you're talking about, man. Where a little bit more of that played out. And I don't know, I just think that would have worked really well too. Just throwing somebody in the middle of like, oh yeah, amnesia, it's like, that's kind of odd. But
the scene that you get seeing the explosion and what happened like before the movie kicks off is really weird and cool enough. I like weird, but kind of out of place almost, where you're like, what's even happening? So it's kind of, maybe it's meant to be disorienting to an extent, but it just kind of went on maybe a little bit too long. You know, you said get on with it, kind of thing.
It's odd, man. I thought that the stuff in the beginning, like the scroll extraction and all that, I loved that. Like doing the memories where she keeps turning around and it bending. I loved that. I thought that was super, super cool how they put that together. And I mean, it's very, very strange because I cannot pinpoint what I wish was different or what I would have changed. Because in general, I really kind of dug it. But again, it was more just the redundancy of like, I've already seen all this, but it's like, you're supposed to have already seen this. It's okay. It's all right that you've already seen this.
It's gotta make sense.
Yeah, it's like, once you get to the end, it's like, it took me longer than that, but it's like, yeah, this is cool. And I did watch the scenes, and I'm with you. The first one, it is what it is. I guess we just want to see, okay, cool, this is today. All right, cool. But yeah, the end scene, all I can figure is that I think that was thrown in for some PETA psychopath that would literally jump from, okay, how did it get from inside the cat to...
They rip it out of
what they do to the cat. I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding, but I swear to you, it seems like that was a consideration that somebody thought, well, we're going to need to explain this somewhere along the way. It was just dumb. I was like, this is stupid.
Loki didn't kill the cat.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay, guys. Don't worry about it.
He killed it after it coughed up that thing.
It was after. It was off camera. You have to see that.
Yeah.
I thought that the little tip of the cap to the beginning of the Coulson Fury tag team partnership was pretty cool. It was just a little nice scene, not overdone, and it was very cool.
Yeah.
Man, I can't believe I've forgotten so much of the stuff I wanted to talk about, because there was a lot of it that I really was kind of just out with, and then there was a lot of it that I was totally cool with. But I guess that was my big thing, was like, I understand that my motivation for the character is supposed to be, well, these idiots lied to her, go get them. And there's nothing wrong with these idiots lied to you, go get them, except that it just is so, again, we'd already seen it. And that sucks. I shouldn't keep saying that because we figured out what the deal is, but it just seems to me that every single thing between Infinity War and Endgame is just treading water. It's just passing time. And it stinks because I was thinking if you were going to get one that isn't that, it would be Captain Marvel. And then it wound up kind of feeling like that too.
Yeah.
It's like weird.
Waiting around to, see where this kind of gives us anything to go on. It didn't really.
Yeah, which that irked me until the Frozen thing. Because again, once I got thinking about it as like a standalone one-off. I mean, Panther had some nods and ties in, but it's a standalone too, and that works a lot better. That's very, very cool to do them like that. So doing Captain Marvel like that's a good idea too.
I guess I kind of expected Ronan to have a little bit more.
That was
of an
strange,
impact.
man.
Yeah,
that was very strange.
I thought you would see him recruiting whatever the name of the character Jaimin Hunsu plays. I thought you would have seen a little bit more of that. Maybe we will in the future, but I thought he would have had a little bit more to do, and maybe that stuff got cut. I don't know, but I was like, why bring him back just to stand there and be like, well, we're leaving.
I thought the same thing. Like, okay, but I kind of just didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
But especially, I mean, I don't know. Like you said, man, he's around to not do anything, and it's like, okay, well, I understand that we have to be swervy and not tell you point blank, no, these are the bad guys, but since you did have them, I don't know, maybe that wouldn't, what I'm suggesting probably wouldn't work at all, but I don't know, it felt like from the first fight scene, it seemed a little obvious, not the big swerve, but the microscopic swerve, the underneath, it was just like, yeah, okay, and I thought that, I'm having a very hard time. I don't know why. I shouldn't try and review a movie if I don't remember anything about it. But in general, I just thought I enjoyed it. It was a little bit disappointing until I then finally reminded myself, this is not a sequel. This isn't picking up anywhere. This one just exists by itself. The only connection that it's got to Civil War is the first post scene. Like, you've got to look at it that way. I keep reminding myself.
I mean, was this supposed to have been the first time that Nick Fury and his boss ever met? I like that they give you that little seed of, okay, Skrulls just have recent memories, but why would his boss not have known to call him Fury? There's no explanation of that whatsoever. And you pretty much don't make it his boss. Make it somebody that's never seen him before. That's some new hotshot in S.H.I.E.L.D., but just don't have it be somebody that would have known to not call him Nick or Nicholas. So that's nitpicky as I'll get out, but that's kind of what I do.
That was it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I actually really enjoyed clever exposition is one of my favorite things in all storytelling, because when you can move the plot along and I thought them explaining to us why that's a flag was very, very good. It's very conversational and cool, and just did a good job with that. Yeah. But yeah, it's like it's fine. It is what it is, man. They let us know I don't know why it didn't bother me. It was just like, oh, okay, we're definitely supposed to know that this guy is a Skrull, because they just made up the scene. Like, I don't know why it just jumped out of me, but it's like, because clearly nobody's trying to swerve you here, but it was just like, boy, yeah, that guy. Okay, we know that guy is one of them.
Yeah. It's beat you over the head with it.
Yeah, it's like, all right. Man, it seems
all but said Hell Hydra to his fallen brethren.
Yeah, exactly, man. There is something that I'm very much forgetting to mention, and it's ticking me off. That's why I keep going back to it, but hopefully it'll come back to me before we're done.
Oh, man, that's what I was trying to say with, just I liked them pointing out the fact that, we don't look out for them Skrulls, but it was just for it to have been him taking that form of somebody that would have known that, kind of like, I don't know if that does it disprove what we just said, but I don't know. And for it to be, I I can never remember the actor's name, but him being oh buddy that you know started the Death Star. I thought he was really really good in the movie and believable. Uh, maybe if there were any of the jokes that I remember being kind of silly, it was the ones that they gave to him of the whole stuff with the cat and stuff like that. This guy isn't supposed to be like that, I wouldn't think. But other than that, I mean, the most of the jokes I remember being given to Samuel L. Jackson was kind of like, this is just kind of hokey, but whatever.
Yeah, man. It was, but again, it might be more that thing where, like the cat and Zero G and stuff like that. Again, maybe it's for a younger audience. Maybe that's what they're going for, and it's like it's okay if I don't laugh at
this
it.
thing be dead?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's silly, but I did think that I thought the Skrull reaction to the cat and what's a cat and that whole thing, basically where that joke winds up, I thought was kind of cool. Like this, no, oh, okay.
You just flash trip. You $1,000 right now. You turned to
Yeah. Why would I want to be a filing cabinet?
Yeah, I want to do that. It's like he knows what that is, but he doesn't know what a cat is. Like what? You know, whatever. But still, I liked that actor and them being, you know, the leader of the Skrulls.
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating to me that the freaking Skrulls are a Cockney street gang from 1940s London. I was like, what? What is this alien dialect, for God's sake? What are we doing, man?
It's Cockney all the way up to the nicest Southern Australian you can find.
It's like, what is going on here, man?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I suck because I sound like I didn't like it. And I actually did. I had a good time watching it, and I enjoyed it. And then, again, once I got to where it was like, you need to watch it over again, idiot. Because, again, I know that
I've heard from the people that I know that have seen it again, not one of them has not told me I liked it better the second time.
I swear I can definitely believe that. I can see that being a thing. Because at the point that I guess this is what I'm trying to work through with the review, is that clearly I went into it wanting it to be a continuation of the Avengers stuff, and it's like, man, you've got to check out of that because that's not what it is. And it's like, it was good anyway, but now that I've got more of a clear head on, like, no, man, just go watch this origin story of this new hero.
Yeah.
That'll kind of work. I also think that if they do go forward with Monica Rambeau, I'm not saying they're going to turn Monica into Captain Marvel, but she was eventually. But if they go forward in the story and we find out, the more stuff we find out about them, especially if Maria's been Thanos away, I think you go back and watch it again. It'll be interesting. Because how crazy would that be? You know, you have this friend of yours who vanishes and then gets back in your life, and everything is cool, and then now your friend just vanishes. You know, and again, the timeline wouldn't match up, but it'd be cool. I think you could make something cool out of that. What else did I see that was? I thought it was. I liked them playing up the. Changing up the colors, because I remember when they first got scenes from the set and she was in the green costume, people lost their minds. It's like, y'all, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah,
it's gonna be all right, man. But also, that was something. That was another thing. I knew that there was something. Maybe this isn't the thing, but there was something big that I was very happy about that I wanted to point out, because we've talked about like consolidation of characters and the notion of things like I know people hated Age of Ultron, and we discussed that people hated Ultron in Age of Ultron because he's just so quippy and making jokes and he's so silly, and I've never had a problem with that because in movie world it's Tony Stark's creation. Of course it's going to be sarcastic and have a smart mouth. I mean, that's Tony Stark. So the idea of, well, no, man, it was so, you know, Ultron's a killer. Ultron is so brutal in the comics. And it's like, yeah, because that's Henry Pym. It's his insecurities and his psychotic lack of self-confidence, lack of belief. So switching that up doesn't bother me a bit. And then the whole deal with the friction in the comic between Captain America and Hawkeye, switching that up and making it Tony and Steve made a lot more sense. So all that kind of stuff is cool. This isn't really a consolidation thing. It's just man, what a good decision to sit on the Skrulls and wait to do actual Marvel Comics Skrulls in the movie where there's so much Kree content. Like that was a good decision, man. That was totally awesome.
Yeah.
Because the Chitauri, or whatever they were called in the Avengers, the Kree Chitauri War doesn't have a,
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
It does not. It's got no basis or root in anything that we know.
Yeah.
So that was real cool. I was excited about that. I was happy they were able to do that. And I don't know. Like I said, I just got to go watch it again. But I'm with you. I'm glad to hear that people doubling up and seeing it again are like, oh man, you got to see it again. Like, sweet.
Cool.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
But it's like we were talking about earlier. You just don't realize just how soon Endgame is. I mean, it's like the end of April, so just a few more weeks and it'll be here.
That's what messed me up is,
part of the, like, you gotta go see it.
You gotta do it right now. But yeah, man, I'm like, shoot, I'd have double featured those, but if possible, I still might.
That I could do. The people that watch 14 hours worth of movies or 20 hours before every new release, like you can have that. But yeah, I could see watching that one and then going into Endgame and having a good time watching that.
Yeah, there's a good time. Yeah, I think I'm going to. It's possible that I will rewatch Infinity War. I finally said it right. I'll probably rewatch Infinity War to get ready for Endgame.
Yeah,
but we'll see. But Endgame is fascinating too, and I know that this. I guess maybe this ties in with the post Infinity War stuff, because this is the only one I've seen, and part of it is something we talked about when we reviewed Infinity War. One of my favorite things about it is now and forever. If you want to end the story with Thanos winning, you can. So I think that's kind of the thing, is like, I got such a good ending there that everything else is just bonus, and maybe I don't approach them the right way. And it's frustrating though, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it though, because with that having been the ending, I should have been able to appreciate Captain Marvel from viewing one. At least now I know how to do it though, so I'll watch it again and find out. But I'm excited about Endgame because I just want to see how certain things go down. I want to, see where things land. And y'all know I'm just going to sit there and wait for Wanda's the bad guy, Wanda's the bad guy, Wanda's the bad guy. Because part of that, we talk about how Marvel pretty much takes everything DC wants to do and is all like, yeah, we're going to do that better. And that's what it feels like to me with Wanda, is like, y'all keep trying to do this Dark Phoenix thing. Let us show you how to do it. I'm hoping that's what we're going to...
It's gotten to the point, like what you're talking about, just seeing the only trailers that I watch anymore are in the movie theater, and if I could get around watching those, I would.
Yeah.
I'm just to that point where I'm gonna go watch the movies anyway. People that sit down on this very YouTube and just review a trailer for an hour, 40 minutes, however long it takes. I don't devote that to it. I would much rather just go check it out because I'm going to watch it anyway.
Yeah, the stuff I know I'm going to watch, pretty much know I'm going to watch.
I think 10 years into the movie's coming out, I don't know if you want to go see it or not.
Yeah. It's strange, man, because there are certain things that I'd never, ever see. My buddy Danielle shows me a lot of these just because Danielle watches very, very interesting stuff. And so she just bust out trailers. We did that the last time we were hanging out, and we wound up watching. I think I might have mentioned it here. I know I mentioned it here. I won't do like a review or anything, but we watched a movie called Border. It's a Swedish movie called Border. And again, if I mentioned it, I'll make it quick just in case I'm retreading. Then at least it won't be too long. If you ever just wake up, if you like fantasy, or you like fantasy might not be the right word for it because it's not like swords and dragons and things like that, but just like fairy tales is what I'm trying to say. If you like odd, creative fairy tale stories, and you get yourself in a headspace where you're like, man, you know what I would like to see is a movie that in absolutely no way reminds me of any other movie I have ever seen. Border might be up your alley. I'm here to tell you, it was fantastic, and I can't begin to tell you why, just because I don't want to ruin nothing. So Border, but that's how we did, was I think we picked out like 4 or 5 trailers and watched all of them. It was that one, and we watched golly, I can't believe I'm forgetting so many of them now. We did the one for Vox Lux, which is so odd because I'm not a Natalie Portman fan at all, but that looks interesting, and that actually ties into what I was griping about. I'll get to that in a second. The one where Vincent Van Defoe. I can't remember. I never can remember the name of that movie. It looks great though. And what I found out was that Julian Schnabel is the guy that directed it. Julian Schnabel did The Diving Bell of the Butterfly, which I love. Now that is a very, very heavy story. It's not for everybody, just for what it's about. But and I don't mean like, oh, it's so depressing, or oh God, it's so violent, or so what. It's not that kind of thing at all. It's just that if you read the preview or read the synopsis, it's just not everybody's cup of tea subject matter wise. But I did love that movie, so now I got to see the Vincent Van Gogh, Willem Dafoe thing, because that looks awesome.
Okay,
but there was
I wasn't sure if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, Vincent Van Defoe is whatever.
That's the only Van Gogh movie I knew of out recently.
It's got to be it. Eternity's Gate or something like that. I should remember, but I'm so impressed with how clever Vincent Van Defoe is that that's what I'm calling it.
Okay.
But anyway, that's the only time I watch previews too, and it actually works out great because it's always fascinating stuff. But to Fox Lux real quick, and I haven't seen that yet, but I just want to watch it. But I was telling the man, we were listening to What Culture talk about how the Netflix Hulk Hogan thing is going to be crap, and I'm like, yes sir, I agree.
Yes.
And his explanation was that, when people that are living, basically foot the bill for their own biopics, you're going to get slanted versions. Like, absolutely, they're called life rights for a reason. You're not going to sign them away to people that are going to trash you.
Yeah.
But then it turns into the thing about Queen. And the real reason I'm bringing it up is because I'm not a huge What Culture guy, but by God, I'm going to put this on just so I can take it off to you in tribute. For at least somebody will finally come out and say, I didn't like Bohemian Rhapsody because I wanted Borat to play him. His version seemed more interesting, and I'm mad they didn't make it. It's like, man, good for you for being so freaking honest.
Yeah,
thank God somebody finally said it. Exactly. But my thing is, Sasha did the talk show circuit apparently and trashed Brian May and talked a bunch of crap about Queen and how, well, it's not real. They're just trying to protect their legacy. I'm like, again, life rights. But the point that I was making was, if the story that you want to make is so wholly interesting and so wholly awesome and oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever, dude, write a script. That's what archetypes are for, man. Mm-hmm. Archetypes are there for people whose life rights are hard to work around. Mm-hmm. And if it's Freddie freaking Mercury, that's a hell of an archetype. No one's going to mistake who you are. You can even skip the mustache and the tank top if you want to. Mm-hmm. So undershirt. Actually, when the tank top's an undershirt. Anyway. Everyone will get it, especially now with all this free publicity of Brian May's a jerk and they didn't want to put anything bad about themselves in the movie. Dude, everyone's gonna know who you're talking about. It's totally okay, man. But I'm kind of on the other side of that with the whole like, well, if people produce their own, they're gonna lie to you about what happened. And I think that goes both ways, because I'm 1000% convinced that the Netflix Motley Crue stuff, most of that crap's made up, and most of it is stuff that other bands did. I don't believe it for 1 second. Watch the behind the music on Motley Crue. If you believe the stuff that comes out of those guys' mouths, I can't help you. Yeah. I just don't. I'm like, people blowing themselves up, man. It just goes both ways. Hogan lying and not telling the story, I completely agree with you. Oh, yeah. But every word of the dirt or the filth or whatever, it's the dirt, I think is what it's called. That's the gospel. I'm like, I'll get out of here. But I am glad. I will say I watched that preview, and the first impression that I got from the trailer, honest to God, man, when those kids pop up on screen, the first guy that caught my eye is the guy playing Nicky. And no kidding, I know this really doesn't ultimately matter in the grand scheme of things, but the initial viewing of the kids and seeing the guy playing Nicky, I honestly thought it was archival footage of them. That guy looks so much like Nicky Sixx. I'm like, well, that's good casting. Yeah. But I thought that I know why I don't mean it that way. I thought the inclusion of Mick Mars and his hip, like the degenerative condition of his spine and his hip and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I love Mick. Mick's awesome. So I'm like, see, it's not all like chicks in bikinis and sharks and heroin overdoses and Razzle or whatever his name was that Vince was in the car crash with. Mm-hmm. It's just like, man, they're gonna do that's cool. You're doing everything. Yeah. So I thought that was cool. Like, all right, good inclusion, man. He's like, man, it's just this old dude. He's got a dodgy hip. Like, that's cool. It's part of the story. I don't know why that part excited me.
And there are some times every once in a while there'll be like the Howard Stern private parts where there was even some of the scenes in that movie with people were like, how could you put that in? And I was like, well, because it happened. So there are those people out there that will give you the straight. I don't know how much of it was straight up, but when you had it broadcast over the air, it'd be pretty easy to point out or find the stuff that wasn't as accurate as it was on the day.
Yeah, man.
So for the most part, I mean, my take on the whole Hulk Hogan movie, how are you gonna do that story without Vince, and how closely related? Because there was the rumors going around of the Vince McMahon movie that Bradley Cooper was gonna play Vince, and it's like I was when I heard about even that the fact there was rumors going around that Chris Hemsworth is supposed to play Hulk Hogan. I'm like, are these related at all? Could they possibly build the WWE verse?
verse.
Like, you got to start with the Vince movie that builds the Hogan, that builds the Randy, that builds the Andre, and all turn to crap when they do Warrior. So. At least theirs will start sucking a lot sooner than the Marvel ones.
I think that I think the wrestling story, the wrestling story, like, well, we got to do, like they were suggesting, like, let's do the Vince McMahon story, a la Social Network, and let's do the Hulk Hogan story, a la, I don't remember what they said it should be like. But what the most interesting wrestling story you could do is do a Boardwalk Empire style story about the actual NWA. That's the much more interesting story, and then because it's all the infighting and all the people just nitpicking and being kooky, and then all of a sudden you get this specter, this looming dark, entity hovering over the wrestling world. You don't even need to cast somebody named Vince McMahon. You don't even need a character Vince McMahon, but that just knowing how the story ends, that would be a lot more interesting.
Because all for naught.
And they're totally right about the Hogan thing. Is just, I said it whenever I first heard they were doing it. It wouldn't matter what you did. I don't care if it's an expose. If it's about Hulk Hogan, I don't care. But my main thing is, Hulk Hogan's been given a green light to make a movie about himself. It's like, dude, didn't you hijack the Andre documentary for that? I'm good. I'm good. I've already seen the Hulk Hogan blows himself on television movie before. I'm good. I'm good. I'm still obviously mad about it because the Andre documentary I was really excited about till I saw it. But it was... The Andre documentary is very interesting because all the non-wrestling stuff on both ends of the Vince McMahon crap is fantastic. All the non-wrestling stuff was awesome. But once you get to wrestling, it's Vince and Hulk and Vince and Hulk. And how about Michigan? What about WrestleMania 3? What about Hulk? Putting Hulk over? He's going to put Hulk over because Vince says so. And it's just, I'm like, y'all, for the love of God, please, man.
Yes. Inventing the notion that Andre might not do business. Like, y'all are just trying to make shit up now.
Hulk tries so hard to make that a dramatic situation where it was not, and it's just like, get out of here, dude.
Come on.
For real, at least do it the right way. Like, I thought that my favorite shoot story of all time was it's in the Flair, the High Spots interview with Flair, where they're talking about, weren't you ever afraid going to Japan that the guys were going to shoot on you and take the belt? And he was talking about Baba. And he was all like, I don't know. He said, I think I probably could have taken Baba. It would have been okay. He's like, if Jumbo wanted to shoot on me, he could have had it. I'd have given it to him. But he's like, I think I could take Baba. I thought that was so cool. Like, I'm not having Jumbo Saruta shoot on me. Heck no, man. The guy was an Olympian. Get out of here.
That's why they sent Harley with me, and he'd sit out, not in the back, Taker style, taking the risk. He'd be ringside.
Yeah, that was just explaining that Harley went over so that no funny business was conducted. But that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, man. You can talk about, that's bad, riding trucks to cable, because honestly, I'm a jerk when it comes to Vince, but aside from writing big checks to cable companies, what else did he really do? Nothing. I mean, honestly, that's how you won. You basically bought television out from under.
I'm going to see what the Crockett's did, and I'm going to do it just better.
More
influence.
Yeah, you just bought up a bunch of cable TV time. Instead of going and buying territories, you bought out TV. Because at the time, you could just, the whole thing, well, this is going to be fantastic. We're going to have Monday Night War all over again. And well, I hope not. Honestly, hope not. I'm hoping that Triple H will spearhead that, because I was telling Jared, I'm very concerned about AEW just... Please don't be WCW immediately. I just stick.
It feels like it's heading down that path.
I'm afraid so too. Especially like we talked about it, man. There's like conversations now about like national television, and I mean like national network TV. And I'm like, I just can't. I just don't think they'll do it without some huge name like that, and I got no time for that. I think there's so much room for good stuff, and I guess I'm in a bad wrestling place now anyway, because Ring of Honor screwed me over by taking the damn belts off the Briscoes, because I was so excited about title for title, and now that I don't know if they're not going to do it, they still got time to put it back, but it just seems weird to undo it just to undo the undoing it. Doesn't make sense. And on top of that, I love Marty Scurll. I like Villain Enterprises. I think Brody King is very entertaining. But PCO, I just don't understand. I don't understand the appeal. It's just this 50-year-old dude that does Mick Foley spots and goes, hey, every once in a while. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm bitter about wrestling, I guess what I'm trying to say. But anything that you could possibly put on film about Vince taking over the wrestling business, no, he just bought cable TV. It's not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But how about having Harley Race go to Japan and shirk the NWA's wishes and drop the belt for $5,000 and then pick it up on your way out?
Yeah.
I mean, that's stuff like that really happened, and that's so much cooler. I just think that would be so much more interesting. And you've got good guys. Jim Barnett would have to be a good guy. Everybody likes Jim Barnett. And for Pete's sake, man, who's the gosh almighty, the guy in Missouri that was the guy? I can't believe I can't think of his name. I've got Caudle and Geigel, and it's neither one of them because they were not. I don't know about Bob Caudle. Geigel, I think, was absolutely hated. Munchnick, Sam Munchnick.
Yeah.
Be a great character. Be fantastic.
Yeah.
But then you've got your villains too, like Geigel and like God, who's the other one that's so notoriously crappy?
It feels like what you're talking about, like a mafia style. Everybody's just looking out for himself.
Yes,
kind of
absolutely.
Story.
That's exactly the story that you should tell. And then ultimately, when you think you've won, you die at the end. I guess I literally just described what I said I wanted Game of Thrones to be. So I guess that's what I wanted it to be. Because my whole thing with Game of Thrones is I want the White Walkers to win. I thought my favorite thing in that show that they have done actually was non-book stuff. And it's unpopular to say that, but I don't care. It's my opinion. I thought that Hold the Door is easily the best story they have ever come up with. And now, as far as I know, the last, take, George Martin wants credit for that. Now, when it first happened, he said, absolutely not. That's not my story. I didn't have anything to do with it. And then it turned out it was popular. Now he wants credit for it. Okay. But the idea of fairy folk creating the whites, basically creating winter as a great equalizer and basically a nuke, because the season of winter did not exist until they made it because men were encroaching on their territory and chopping down trees and killing the forest. So they came up with this super killer to level the playing field and fight back against people, which is wintertime, which is the season that everything dies in. I'm like, that's awesome. I thought that was so cool. So the notion of everybody dying at the end, I'm good with it. I got no problem with it because I don't know. I just liked. I thought that again. That was my favorite part of the entire story. Is like, holy crap, the whites, winter. It's a nuke. It's a nuclear weapon used against human beings. Like, what a cool idea. I thought that was awesome. So I guess that's what I want. And with the rest, give me what I want. I guess that's what I want the wrestling story to be, because it's built in.
Batista and his cute red glasses.
And I like all the funky colored nose rings and glasses. I love the nose ring thing because it's just such a middle finger to everybody. Like, okay. I guarantee you I'd be very surprised if he wasn't donning something blue at WrestleMania. Like, okay, guys. But anyhow, if you tell the territory wrestling system story, you already know how it ends. And you know that winter in this case is Vince McMahon, and everybody does die at the end. I think that would just be unreal. Particularly, it would add. I know Vince would never sign off on it because he would not be like we were talking earlier about life rights, man. People, they're not.
Why am I going to tell the story where
I'm the bad guy? And that's the point, is that you can't make that story with. Basically, I mean, can you imagine a television show with somebody young playing behind the scenes Booker Dusty Rhodes? It'd be the most popular crap in the whole wide world. And ultimately, when you have him in polka dots and you have Harley Race parading around with a crown and a cape, and you find out what that really was about. It would hurt a little bit. But you could totally get away with it, because the whole thing with Vince is you don't have to say Vince, you don't have to say McMahon. First of all, the name Vince isn't copyrighted. But literally, if you just reference them as New York every time you talk about them, that's the only one calls it anyway. I swear that would be so much cooler. But by all means, let's make a freaking social network about Vince McMahon, because again, it's just boring. What did Vince actually do that was innovative in professional wrestling? nothing. His version of wrestling is boring as paint drying. It always has been. That's why the NWA stuck around so long, because those of us down here in the dang North South that like our wrestling, it can't just be cartoon characters doing, basic crap. That's just not what folks are into. What Vince did was he was smart with TV.
He gets credit for seeing where TV and the future was
That's
going.
the point.
And he was able to do it quicker than anybody else. Not that he saw it before anybody else, but that's the main thing.
I totally agree that Vince McMahon as a media mogul, that's an interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
But the professional wrestling part, no, it just happened to be that he made his money in, because that's what Dad did. And there's a lot of, you can make that part of the story interesting if you believe, like I believe, that Vince has hijacked and shanghaied and destroyed professional wrestling as a FU to the old man who he did not have any time for. The old man, I don't think Vince and his dad had much of a relationship at all. So taking over Dad's business and being like, oh yeah, screw your business, kind of cool. It's more of the stuff that we talk about with all of the Ronda Rousey. I'm going to disrespect the business you love and la-di-da. It's like, she is Mr. McMahon now. It's just that Mr. McMahon is supposed to be moneybags, not like Steve Austin. Ronda Rousey's motivation now for her character, that is Vince McMahon. It's just, that's the way it is, man. That's fascinating.
I don't even like this stuff.
It's the truth. Vince absolutely hates. You can't watch anything that has ever been released on this planet that's called professional wrestling. If you watch it versus WWE, you cannot not come away from that. I mean, the fact the guy is so embarrassed to be in wrestling that he doesn't even call it wrestling tells you all you need to know, man. Only reason WWE is still called that is because it's copyrighted.
That was it's hardly news, but some of the media that covered the announcement of Mania 36 down in Tampa were surprised when they get like these diatribes and what not to call sports entertainment, what not to call superstars, like whatever. And that's nothing new. That's been going on for decades.
Yeah, the reason that I still have an issue with all that stuff, man, is I'm with you. It's like, who doesn't know this by now?
Yeah.
The thing that frustrates me is the fan base, the WWE people that get so huffy. When you say that WWE is not wrestling, people think you mean that as an insult. Baby, I'm just telling you what he's telling you. I'm just trying to tell you that it's not an insult. It is an observation. It is just the way it is. Pro wrestling is very, very different from WWE, like we talked about. The benchmark for success for any wrestling company, you're not going to catch WWE. It's not a wrestling company. That ceased being professional wrestling a long, long time ago, man. So it ain't no thing. But I don't know. We're going back like we said with AEW, man. Part of me is very excited about it. Part of it is just great because anything that gets people more money is always going to be good. So good for them. At the same time, man, if they start throwing huge checks at Nash and X-Pac, and it's just, I just really, really, really hope that's not anything that anybody is considering, because it sucked the last time.
That's when they've got the show coming from Vegas. The next one after that big announce is going to be Jacksonville. That's all I could think was like, that's not far of a drive for Hogan.
Whenever they said it was Tony Khan, the guy that owns the Jaguars, it's like, well, Florida, that's pretty bad. But anyhow,
you have it.
That's about as long as. But I think the thing as far as AEW is going to be like WCW, there's a lot of room for that to be good too. Because WCW till you got to the main event was pretty great. That was why I always liked it better. Because WWE, man, they used to have really good matches, and then after WCW stopped being a thing, and for the time that you had Eddie running around with the belt, that was great, because Eddie matches are an Angle, of course. I mean, holy crap, when Kurt first got the title, that was unbelievable. And it's weird, because that's always what I've referred to as ruthless aggression. Now I've got people telling me, well, ruthless aggression actually was Randy Orton and John Cena. I'm like, no, that's PG. When they turned the company over to Cena, that was the PG era. So ruthless aggression, it might have been when Cena first came up. Maybe so, because
they overlap a little bit.
Yeah, all of them do. But yeah, my whole thing is like, no, the era is defined by who's in the main event picture at the time, and that wasn't either one of those guys at that time. So anyway, maybe I'm wrong about that, but the point they were making was,
they even had T-shirts that said "Toothless Aggression."
Oh, absolutely.
So that's what I think of when you say that.
I'm the same way. I think of like the SmackDown 6, and I think of JBL,
Yeah.
and that's that era, and I love that stuff, man. It was awesome. But the Kurt Angle retirement thing, I'm not really. I know we've talked about it, man. It's overdue, so it ain't no thing. But it's just just one more thing on the WrestleMania card that it's like.
So what?
I don't know if there's anything. I honestly don't know if there's anything on that card that I'm interested in. Honest to God, man, because I'm so turned off now by anything related to Becky Lynch. It just pains me to say that out loud. But I want that storyline over and done with so bad it's killing me.
At least hopefully that'll be wrapped up.
God, I hope so. Seriously. One of two things will happen. It's either wrapped up because Ronda's leaving or Ronda's not leaving and the Fox deal's okay. So that's, we'll get news one way or the other, and that's cool. At least we'll know.
It'll either be wrapped up or we got another year of this bullshit.
I'm afraid of this going to be the latter. Let's see. Shane Miz, I've already expressed myself on.
Yeah.
Triple H Batista is my second bathroom break.
Totally.
Yeah, AJ and Randy I'm very torn on because y'all know I don't like Randy Orton. I got no time for it. But I'm pretty sure, I can almost swear to you that when AJ first came over and they were like, they're just discussions about who would you most want to work with. I swear to God, that's the first guy he named.
Okay.
So for me, I don't care because I hate Randy Orton. But if it's something that AJ wants to do, that's awesome, especially considering that favor he did last year.
I mean, well, he's had a whole career of WrestleMania matches. Are like, really? That's what you want me to do? And when he finally gets to pick, like, you pick that?
Dude, I have said before, the biggest mystifying disconnect between me and every person I have ever discussed the wrestling business with is being able to see what's special about Randy Orton, because, baby, I do not see it. I've just accepted I'm never going to see it, and that's okay. People love him. I do not. So, again, that match ain't my thing.
It's just this arrested development thing with him to where 2005, 2006, I would have thought that he was going to be one of the biggest things ever. Then it just felt like there's just like this flat line to where it's like, no, I'm not going to get any better. There's nothing else that I can learn.
Man.
Like, so, well, that's why you're stale.
Yeah, the in-house WWE guys, unfortunately, that happens to a lot of them, because ultimately I was talking with somebody the other day about, I really like Roman and I'm glad he's doing better, but man, his matches are kind of boring. I'm like, of course they are. He's a championship level contender in WWE. All of those guys are told, take it easy. Watch out for yourself. Take it easy. Don't work hard. That's what they're told, and it's because, God forbid you just do fewer dates a year.
Can't do that.
Oh, seriously! Now, at house shows, I don't want nobody.
I want that, dude.
I don't want nobody dying at a house show. I don't want anybody out there killing themselves for that stupid. I mean, you got to watch out, and I totally get that. But if you can save them up and have one decent match at one of our 4 pay-per-views that we talked about, that's different than, okay, Baron, now put him in a rest hold. And it's just, that junk gets old. And it's like, yeah, man, I mean, I agree. I think Reigns' matches are quite boring, but I think everybody in the company has boring matches. It's just not my thing. But it's, then again, it's been a while since I've seen one, so maybe I do not know. I had a conversation with someone recently about, it was about how I'm still such a huge Bayley fan. Sasha, I'm very up and down on. I think her work is very good, but she scares me sometimes because it seems like, it sucks because it's the total opposite of what I'm saying about people like Orton and Cena and guys like that, and Miz, dudes like that who just take care of themselves above all things. Sasha's like Kevin Owens. Like, it's just like, God, be careful, y'all. You know, so it's very, very hypocritical to say both those things in one, paragraph. Excuse me. But we were talking about, man, Bayley, her matches just suck now. Bayley's matches have sucked forever, and I'm like, I just totally disagree. I think that her NXT stuff was better because the NXT stuff was more heavily choreographed. And again, that's not an insult. I thought everybody knew that. It's all like, well, you don't get to do that in the big show. I'm like, sure, some people do. Of course you do. Whenever you see somebody have a really good-looking match in WWE, it's because they've been rehearsing it. And the women at NXT used to do that all the time. So, yeah, if they don't look as good as they used to, that's probably why. And there's what's wrong with that. Because I love old school, get in the ring, call it on. I love that kind of stuff. It's awesome. But if you have performers more comfortable with scripting, wink, wink, Savage, let them do that. It's awesome because,
everybody works different ways.
They totally do. Some people are more comfortable knowing what they're doing. That's totally all right, man. I just let them. I think that's cool.
Some people go overboard with it. Rehearsing stuff down to, the timing and the move sets of every single second.
That
like,
kind of
that's
thing.
crazy.
I don't like that either. It's
That's
like that's
crazy.
and that's one of the problems with. I really enjoy. I like generic Young Bucks matches way more than like Young Bucks main events because they just it's got that Hardy Boys thing where they just try and come up with the next over the top. Holy crap! No one's ever topping this kind of thing, and it's like you can just get out there and do what you do, and it's very entertaining, man. You don't have to keep up in the ante. At the same time, if you're creative or a performer, maybe that's what you're going for. I mean, it's it's like saying, "Oh, you've had your top 40 hit. Just play that." Maybe it's like that. Maybe that's what it feels like to say that.
It's like hold my hand every night for the next 40 years.
Yeah, play "Hold My Hand" and the Burger King commercial song, and you'll be good, Darius.
Nah, I'm not cool with that.
Nah, man, I got other things to write, other things to do. Yeah, that totally could be it, man. And that would make sense. I was gonna review more stuff for Rollins and Brock. I guess I'm interested in that because it's like,
surely God, that'll be the end of something.
that's my thing. It's like it always feels like it's like, well, okay, this is how they're gonna do the belt off Brock, and they never do it. So it's like, well, sometime they're gonna do this, and I want to see it. So I guess I am interested in that one. It's just like, man, if I miss it, I'm going to be mad as hell. I've seen this guy retained 47 times in useless matches.
They're never going to do it
It's
again.
for real, never going to happen. It's the only reason they do it. Bryan Danielson and Kofi probably be great. I mean, if they'll leave them alone and just let it be the two of them, which I really think they will. I think that the women's three-way is, you've got your multiples. That's going. The U.S. title, of course, is going to have the 97-person ladder match or something like that.
A ladder battle royal match.
Yeah, ladder royal. You throw people off the top of the ladder over the top rope. That's how you eliminate them because they're dead.
Count it.
For real.
That's they announced the whole Harlem Heat going into the Hall of Fame thing.
Yeah, man.
I dig it. I definitely deserving, but people are all kind of butthurt about it for some crazy reason. Like, I think it's cool to have guys doubling up on Hall of Fame. Even two guys in the same year with Shawn and Booker T getting 2 rings. That's cool with me.
That's all right with me, man.
I'm down.
The Briscoe brothers I often refer to as the Pantera of tag team wrestling because when they were doing it, they were the only team doing it. And tag wrestling was doing okay. WCW tag wrestling was just like a non-entity. Nobody cared. Except for Harlem Heat. Harlem Heat were freaking awesome. So I'm with you. I'm glad they're going in. I think those guys are awesome. That was the big kerfuffle I kept coming across was Stevie Ray's not a Hall of Famer. Well, Stevie Ray's not going in as Stevie Ray. He's going in as half of Harlem Heat. Absolutely. Do you think Robert Gibson's getting in without the Rock and Roll Express?
Yeah.
Probably not, but by God, he belongs there because it's the Rock and Roll Express, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, like doubling up and stuff like that. And I'm not sure which teams are not in that people are upset they're getting in before. Unless it's, I know people whine about Demolition every year, but it's not hard to find out why that is the way it is.
Not happening anytime
That's
soon.
not going to happen. So it's like, okay, well, beyond them.
And it would make no sense. Let's finally in New York we can put the Midnight Express in the town that they built.
Oh yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day that was like it was a fake announcement that Christian was going to the Hall of Fame as a solo performer, and it was people are all upset because it's fake and la-di-da. But I'm like, well, I'm hoping that that's part of the Tampa thing is that Edge and Christian can get in because that would be really cool. I think both of them live like in town, so that would be kind of awesome to. I hope that happens anyway. The Edge is a dude that Edge will probably wind up there 3 times because they might put RKO in as a tag team. I wouldn't, but I don't love Randy Orton the way I'm supposed to. But I do like Edge a lot, so I think it would be cool to get both of them in.
Well, it'd be pretty far down the line to get to that.
Yeah. Well, if we're, I guess it
I think
depends.
it's a clip they're putting guys in, man. I mean, gotta. But at the same time, you want to get guys in while they're still here to accept the award.
Yeah, depending on who they are, for real, man. You got to get them in early enough to sign that Legends contract so you can make toys of them after they're dead. Yeah. Isn't that right, Ultimate Warrior's wife, who's now got a job in creative for some reason, apparently.
Yeah.
I understand that, but anyhow, well, that, brother.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, for real, man. Anyway, I'm like awful. I'm like crapping on everything. And I feel bad about that, too, because again, I really feel like I undercut Captain Marvel because I really did like it, but you really said it well earlier, man. I have this strange feeling that I watched it and I was okay with it, and then I thought about it and I liked it, but I still have this like gnawing. Wait till you see it again. It's weird. I just got this feeling I'm really gonna dig it.
I'll get around to it.
Yeah, I'll probably Netflix it. Or, I'm sorry, Redbox it, something like that. You can't Netflix it.
That's not gonna happen, brother.
That
dude.
But yeah, I will run down to the drugstore and nab that sucker. Speaking of which, drugstore has the favorite, which I've been wanting to see forever. So it's awesome. I can go to the old Redbox and get that sucker. They mess me up because both their colors are red and white, so I constantly call Redbox Netflix and Netflix Redbox because
Can't they just be the same thing?
Because I'm not smart. I'm not smart.
So, man, but that's what's good.
Yeah, man.
That's what's going on.
Thank you for watching. Have a good one, y'all.
I'll see y'all.
Yeah.